Welcome back. The Chicago Auto Show, America's largest, opens to the public on Saturday. Hundreds of cars, concept vehicles, and mobility devices are all on display. But this year there is a major focus on electric vehicles. Dan Williams reports.
The vast Chicago Auto Show was first staged in 1901. And this year, electric vehicles, or EVs, are taking center stage. It comes after Stellantis, the manufacturer behind brands such as Dodge and Jeep, decided to skip the event this time round. But that absence has allowed EV makers to step in.
It's cutthroat right now. Those new players are pushing the legacy automakers to advance quicker and find new solutions to compete with these new technologies. I think everything is still growing pretty full steam ahead.
The electric vehicle market has taken a hit in recent weeks following a series of negative reports focusing on how EVs have struggled to charge in the extreme cold, impacting efficiency and range. But here at this auto show, there are a couple of people who are looking to change those perceptions. Chris and Julie Ramsey are husband and wife adventurers. Last year, they completed a 30,000-kilometer journey to the South Pole from Antarctica in an all-electric Nissan Ariya.
So the purpose behind this is to show people and demonstrate to people the true capability of electric vehicles. There's still a lot of myths out there. There's still a lot of people thinking, oh, an EV can't do this because of X, Y, Z. There's just so many of those common myths that we thought, look, why don't we do this, take this car, and just debunk these myths.
Looking at an area that's just been taken effectively from the showroom, off the factory floor, we put big tires on it. One of the things for us is education. It's educating people about how you can operate EVs in that extreme cold, because they can handle it. It's just sometimes comes down to knowledge and experience. It was minus 39. And then you've got wind chill on top of that, which makes it even colder. And this car performed absolutely fine.
The Chicago Auto Show has seen plenty of changes over the years. But the pace of change, with new EV makers continuing to emerge, looks set to accelerate in the coming years. Dan Williams, CGTN, Chicago.
Big issue in the United States, and let's talk more about it, the auto industry. And we're joined by Karl Brauer. He is the executive analyst at iSeeCars.com. Love that name, Karl. Thanks very much for joining us. I want to begin with what we just ended that package with, because a lot of people around the United States were talking about that during the Arctic blast that came through. When I was a kid, they called it a cold snap. Now it's what I can't even remember what they called it, but it's terrifyingly cold, and it really did a number on electric vehicles, especially in the Midwest. Is this going to be a long-term problem?
I think it's one of many. I think that's not the only problem. I think there's several things they're being challenged by. By the way, I think that was the polar vortex. Is the
there
term
you go.
I like to use for that. And yeah, you know, it was interesting that you had that couple that really took that Nissan on a long distance trip. I'd love to dig into more of the specifics, because obviously they can tell their story, and then the people who had Teslas a few weeks ago in Chicago can tell their story. And so there's definitely mixed reports coming back. But you know, we've got Ford and General Motors in just the past week reestablishing or reevaluating their EV plans, and both of them essentially saying in much more flowery terms, they aren't selling, and we have to go back toward internal combustion engines or we're going to go bankrupt.
Okay.
That's what they said. I
want to come back to that, but let's talk about Tesla and Lucid, the new things that they're bringing to the auto show, and to many people, despite, you know, I mean, negative 39, that's going to cause problems to a lot of vehicles. But tell me what your thoughts on Tesla and Lucid, how they're doing and what they're bringing to the auto show.
Yeah, I mean, they're both showing up and they've got news to report. And I think for Tesla, they're finally revising some of their models, like the Model 3, which is important because their cars are looking pretty long in the tooth, as they say. They've been around for a while. The biggest news really was just that they were there, honestly, because Tesla specifically, they've pretty much acted like they don't need any help selling their brand for the past 15 years. So for them to show up at any auto show and actually invest the time and energy to be apparent confirms what I think we've all got a sense of, which is that they're not selling automatically anymore, and that they're not capacity constrained on their sales. They're now demand constrained. And Lucid, of course, they're really low volume, and they're trying to just have a name that's recognized by people.
You know, globally, when you talk about EVs as well, think back to what Elon Musk said, I think it was around 2011, when he came out and basically said that Chinese EVs weren't going anywhere. they are making a big dent in the market. They're crazy popular in Asia, and they're gaining popularity in Europe. Do you think that their presence, what will their presence be like in Chicago?
Yeah, well, I think people are wondering when the Chinese are going to arrive in the U.S. because they have absolutely landed and are thriving in Europe and in Mexico and, of course, in China. The domestic brands in China now are over 50% of the market share. They've displaced Volkswagen as the #1 brand there. So the Chinese brands in general, and BYD, which is a huge electric brand, is doing extremely well. And we know that they're profitable. That's the big thing. It's not just that they're selling a lot of cars, they're making money at it. And that's where the domestics, and hopefully not Tesla, doesn't fall into that soon, but we know their revenue numbers and profit numbers are down too.
Let's talk about a little bit more about Lucid and Tesla. Do you think they can regain a stronger competitive edge than China's BYD in markets where they are ahead? And let's remember that Tesla did make a big splash when they opened up operations in China.
Yeah, I mean, I think China's cars have evolved rapidly, and between how much better they've gotten in a relatively short time and their financial structuring, they just have huge advantages. The lithium they control largely, and the government is basically helping the companies really maintain a good cost structure, making them profitable at much lower transaction prices. I don't know how a traditional automaker or a new non-Chinese automaker like Lucid and Tesla long-term compete with that. It's going to be tough.
Let's go back to what we were talking about in terms of the United States and the EV market. It's not good news for the environment that Americans are saying we don't want EVs. And it really shows a short-sightedness that simply baffles me. I wonder, don't these people have kids? Don't they have grandkids? And why the United States is having such a hard time embracing something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you think about like the basic concept of what an electric vehicle is, it's that you are going to spend more money, you're going to spend more time charging,
right,
and you're going to hope that things work well when it's time to charge, whether it's a broken charger, whether there's a line of people in front of you. And I always tell people, are we in a world that's moving faster or slower? Is the average human more or less patient? Do they have expectations for things to happen quicker or slower? And you're telling us that all of us are supposed to switch to a type of fueling that's on a good day going to take you 10 to 20 minutes, and on a more average, realistic day for most people is going to be 20 to 60 minutes, when you can do it in 5 to 7 minutes with a gasoline car. That's a tough one to overcome in a constantly accelerating society that we live in.